Hello, students. It is Wednesday, September 16th, and we are going to continue our Elements of Fiction notes, and we're going to go over probably the most important thing that I will teach you this year, and it has to do with the plot of a fiction story. So let me share my screen. Make sure you have your notes out, and you are ready to take notes for our last day. Woo-hoo. Okay. The fifth element of fiction is plot. Now, plot is what happens and how it happens in the story. So it's the events, it's the stuff that goes on. So we need characters, we need setting, and we need what those characters do in the setting. Okay, what leads up to the conflict? All of that is plot. What happens and how it happens in the story. The events. And they go in a specific order. And what's really important to know is that this specific order is the same no matter what kind of fiction story we're talking about, okay? And we're gonna do something called the plot diagram. And a diagram is an actual like visual representation of what happens, what we call the trajectory of a story. So here's our plot diagram, and you are going to be filling this in on your notes packet or drawing this out in your notes, okay? There are 6 parts. So the plot diagram is, and you'll understand why it actually has that rise, or why it has a mountain that you go up and then kind of fall. We'll talk about it. The first thing is our exposition, and our exposition is where the author exposes you to the characters and the setting. So expose means to show. So it's literally the author showing you this is who's in the story and this is what it is going to be about, and this is where it's located. So it's usually going to be characters and setting, and you might not actually know what it's about yet, but you'll definitely meet the characters and you will meet the setting. The second thing is the inciting event. The inciting event is what gets the ball rolling, it's what gets the story going. The rising action is the events that leads up. So the inciting event starts your conflict, and the rising action is what happens because of that. Which leads us to the most exciting point of the story, the climax. After we have our climax, the most important or exciting part of the story, the turning point, we have the falling action. A couple of things that happen as characters return to life as it was before, or this new life where the conflict is resolved. Okay? Now we're going to go in depth on each of these in our next slide. But this is our plot diagram. You need to pause and fill it out if you haven't finished already. Okay. Now what's important to know is that the rising action usually makes up the majority of the story. So most of what happens in the plot is the rising action. The exposition and the exciting event can be very short, actually. The climax could also be very short, or it could be long, but this is where the majority of the story happens. Now, when we talk about movies, when we talk about TV shows, they follow this exact same diagram. All fiction stories have this in some form. The parts of the plot. The exposition or the introduction. The author introduces the characters and the setting. We talked about that. It's where the author shows you who's in it, where is it happening. The inciting event is the event that starts the conflict, that gets the ball rolling. Okay, it's what lights the match, what starts the conflict. And then the rising action is the part where the conflict is growing. And usually those rising events are more and more exciting and or serious, like bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because it is growing to a tension of the climax, which is our highest point of interest for suspense or action in the story. It's also kind of our turning point, meaning after the climax, you can see on that plot diagram, the action kind of starts to fall, which leads us into our falling action. When the conflict ends and the loose ends are kind of being tied up, questions are getting answered, we're figuring stuff out after the most exciting part of the story, which leads us to the resolution, which is the ending, when characters go back to living their life. And maybe it might be a new version, but it's where things kind of go back to normal after that conflict. Now, this is the most important thing I will teach you all year. This is it. is being able to understand that no matter what story you read or watch, it follows this plan. This is the order. Just like Elements of Fiction, you need all 6 things to happen. For a good story, for a satisfying story, you need all 6 of these pieces, okay? So your exit ticket today is, what's the most important thing I'm going to teach you all year? This. And we're going to keep coming back to it over and over and over again, okay? Every time I'm going to say, where are we in the story? What's going on in the story? Have we reached the climax yet? Where are we in? Oh, we're still in rising action. That kind of thing. This is what we're going to talk about the whole year in everything we read, okay? So let's look at the 3 little pigs. Our exposition is the 3 little pigs are building their homes of straw, sticks, and brick. The inciting event, the thing that starts the conflict, is a hungry wolf came to town looking for a meal. That's the problem that our 3 little pigs, our protagonists, our main characters, are having to deal with. The wolf tries to get into each of the 3 pigs' houses. He is the antagonist. That is the rising action, and there happens 3 times. So he goes to straw, then sticks, and then finally brick. When the wolf cannot get into the last house, the brick, he tries to go down the chimney and falls into the boiling pot set by the pigs. The falling action is the pigs eat the wolf. Kind of that inverse. This is where everything flips. And the resolution is the pigs live happily ever after. Okay? So even something as simple as a children's story of the 3 little pigs still follows this, what we say, path or trajectory. We're going to come back to this a lot. The last element of fiction, because I don't want our video to be too long, and we need to get to both of these today. The last one is theme. Now, theme we're only briefly going to touch on, but theme we're going to keep coming back to, and theme can be a little bit tricky. Theme is the lesson or moral that the author is trying to show the readers about humans or life. It's kind of the message, the big picture. What should you learn after reading this text? Remember, pause me at any time. I gave you a lot of information already. Anytime you need to pause the video or go back, go back. You have that privilege. And we will talk about theme more in a later unit. Okay? Anything else? No? Yes, we do. We're going to review. What are our 6 elements of fiction? We're going to talk about this tomorrow. All right? So go back if you missed anything for plot or theme. And for plot, remember that's going to be part of your exit ticket today, which is, what is the most important thing I'm going to teach you all year? Plot diagram. Okay. That'll be it. Have a great rest of your day.